How did we go from being a nation that revered the idea of the self-reliant bronco buster into something else entirely? What turned us into a nanny state for well-paid bankers? How did the good old US of A turn into a bailout nation? That is what this audiobook is about. It's easy to understand why bailout is such a dirty word in the American financial vernacular. There are many reasons, but I want to focus on the three biggest ones. First, there is something inherently unjust about some people getting a free ride when everyone else has to pay his or her own way. We Americans are always willing to lend a hand to someone down on their luck, but that is not what the current crop of bailouts is about. This is the government financially rescuing people despite, or perhaps because of, their own enormous recklessness and incompetence. This inequity is especially galling to those of us who work in the financial markets. Wall Street has long been a brutal meritocracy. Success is based on skills and smarts and the relentless ability to identify opportunity while simultaneously managing risk. All of the people I know who work on the street, whether in stocks, bonds, options, or commodities, have a strong sense of fair play. Eat what you kill is the classic Wall Street attitude toward risk and reward, profit and loss. There are, however, those market players who fail to live or die by their own swords, but then expect to be rescued by others from their own folly. They embody a fair-weather belief in the free market system, somehow thinking it applies only during the good times. This is a high form of moral cowardice, and it is rightly despised by those who play fairly and by the rules. Since the turn of the 21st century, well-connected, moneyed interests have managed to keep all of their profits and bonuses during good times, but have somehow thrown off their risk and the results of their own bad decision-making onto the public taxpayers. Privatized gains and socialized losses is hardly what capitalism is supposed to be. Second, the process of how some groups get rescued by the government, while others are left to flounder, is in and of itself suspect. The cliché that no one should see how laws or sausages get made is especially true when it comes to bailouts. The political mechanisms and the dollar amounts involved are especially egregious. Why? In all modern cases, they are done quickly, on an emergency footing. There is often little or no debate. Transparency has been non-existent. Many observers not only object philosophically to the concept of bailouts, but are particularly offended by the ham-fisted way they are foisted upon the public. Nearly everything has been done on an ad hoc basis, with little thought and less planning. Who has time for strategy or long-term thinking when we have trillions of dollars to spend? Third, and finally, there are the costs. If we have learned anything about bailouts over the past 100 years, it is that each rescue attempt is more costly than the one that preceded it. This is usually true in terms of the immediate expenditure, but even more so in terms of the long-term damage done to the financial system. As of February 2009, the costs have raced past $14 trillion. That is an unprecedented sum of money, greater than any other single government expenditure in the nation's history. Beyond the actual out-of-pocket expenses lies the dangerous hazard of corporate bailouts. The government's largesse encourages greater and greater reckless speculation. The ordinary liability and risk that is supposed to go with investing and business ventures seems to have disappeared. A grotesque distortion of normal capitalist incentives is formed. When a sector of the economy expects to be rescued by the government, it loses the healthy fear of financial failure. This leads directly to excessive speculation and reckless behavior, a condition known as moral hazard. Historically, excessive greed, recklessness, and foolish speculation were punished by the market. Speculators lost their capital, their reputation, and their influence. Back in the day, when skyscrapers had windows that opened, some even lost their lives. Their pools of cash migrated to people who handled risk in a more intelligent fashion. This is, or perhaps was, the great virtue of capitalism. Money finds its way to where it is treated best.